In the upcoming ICC World Cup 2023 semi-finals, India faces New Zealand, yes, at the Wankhede Stadium on November 15th, while Australia takes on South Africa at Eden Gardens, Kolkata on November 16th. India, unbeaten in the tournament, confronts the New Zealand, a team with successful World Cup history. India's dominant performance led by Kohli, Sharma, impressive batting lineup aims to extend their winning streak against the spirited New Zealand side, showcasing consistent performance by Ravindra Jadeja and Santner as spinner. In the extensive head-to-head battles, India holds an advantage with 59 wins out of 118 matches against New Zealand. The ODI World Cup record also leans slightly towards New Zealand. Yes, with 5 victories in 10 encounters, the semi-final promises to be an intensive cricket action as these cricketing giants are there. Well, we have exciting lineup today. We've got Paul Dinette from Australia, David Brooks, the man who owns the ICC, the MCC necktie, and Tasmin Granger, who's sporting the ICC World Cup blazer with us in the studio. Well, I'd like to go on to our friend who's the farthest, which is Paul Dinette. Paul, we have some stats on our screen right now, and India seems to be doing a little more better than the other teams. Let's look at the bowling economy stats. India is at 5.76, comes closer to the other teams, which is, who else is close, Tasmin? I think New Zealand is at 6.92. So the overall strike rate is 4.59. What do you make of an overall strike rate of 4.59 as compared to the others, which are languishing at 5.86, 6.1. New Zealand is at 5.67. Tell us, this is the new data we've got. Go on,
Hey,
Paul.
Sunil. G'day, everyone. Look, India's got the best bowling attack in the tournament. Those figures don't surprise me. Not only is their economy rate fantastic, it is their ability to take wickets, and led by Mohammad Shami, who has been super impressive, along with Jasprit Bumrah. And I think that is the real separation, that as fantastically well as India's batters have been during this tournament, plenty of batters from plenty of different sides have done well. But it is the Indian bowling attack, not just their spin, but certainly their spin is superb. But the fast bowling attack really is a point of difference, that opening batters know that it's not a question of coming out there and trying to get 350. Initially, it's a question of coming out there and trying not to get blown away, as has been the case with so many sides against India in this tournament.
Well, absolutely. David Brooks, what do you make of the Indian bowling? And very good morning from London.
Oh. Yes, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. Indian bowling lineup, the best they've ever fielded in any World Cup. And as we were discussing yesterday, Sunil, possibly one of the best since Pakistan's lineup of 2003 that had Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis together.
Saqlain Mushtaq and Mushtaq Ahmed as well, the spinners.
Yeah,
Shoaib Akhtar.
Shoaib Akhtar bowled the fastest ball anyone had ever seen in that World Cup in South Africa. I was there to see it. And not forgetting, Mushtaq Ahmed, as you said, you can turn to him for spin. So this India attack is right up there, make no mistake. This is the best side India have ever put into the World Cup. And it can only get better. Now, what are the banana skins? Possibly the first 15 overs. They've got to be careful in those because New Zealand's opening attack is very potent. And also, this Mumbai ground is a small ground they're playing on. So if it turns into a 6-hitting competition, there's a couple of big hitters for New Zealand, who might figure. But New Zealand only won one of their last 4 World Cup matches here, but in this tournament. But of course, in this tournament rather than Mumbai. But of course, their record against India is good, and India have lost to them recently in 1 day and 20 over. So no room for complacency for India. They've got to be on their A game. But if they keep playing as they have been in the tournament, they should make it 10 out of 10 victories in this tournament.
Absolutely, they should make 10 out of 10. Tasmin Granger, When we look at these stats right now, what do you think of the Indian bowling? We've got some more detailed exclusive analysis which talks about the spin, the pace to the left-hander, to the right-hander. This is what we've got. But what do you make of this slide?
Good morning to you all, and definitely a great morning from us here. We know everybody's hyped up about what's coming our way tomorrow, and I think what a better way to just dig into it than to have a look at these stats that we currently have on the screen for you. Take note of the fact that India has the most economical first to 10 over power play as well as the third one, and this will definitely tell you something about their seam bowling attack. Their overall seam bowling attack is currently leading first on the most economical paces ODI ranking for this World Cup at 4.77. This will tell you, regardless of the fact that they may not have taken as much wickets probably as South Africa, being this because South Africa has Gerald Coetzee in the middle orders as well, that's being counted into the economy and the higher wicket-taking column. They are the most economical. I mentioned this yesterday as well in the show to say that regardless of the fact if you feel like you've weathered the storm of having to get through their spin bowlers and probably not lose much wickets, you need to take into consideration that the same guys that troubled you at the start are most probably going to be the same guys waiting for you at the end.
Absolutely. So, if you also look at the Indian batting, which we will come to something later in the evening and share it with Paul and David in advance, Indian batting is very, after the injury of Hardik Pandya, they've gone very heavy on the top, which is the first 10 overs, and they've gone explosive at the 10. Now, the reason for that is they don't want to lose out on several wickets in cluster so that the effect goes on the middle order. Would you agree to that based on the statistics, David?
Well, yes, that's how they've been playing it, and they should no reason to change a successful formula. I love that line that Tasmin just said just now, that the same bowlers are going to be waiting at the end to defeat the ones that are going to scare you at the start, are going to come back at the end, so there's no respite. So, but as far as the batting is concerned, yes, follow the same successful formula. If it isn't broke, don't try and fix it.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Ain't broke, no fix. Absolutely. Great. Paul, what do you think of the Indian bowling? You've spoken about the bowling, but let's talk about the Indian top order power play batting, because the records are absolutely explosive.
They certainly are. We talked the other day about Rohit Sharma being in contention for the best 50 over side of all time, of all countries. And I think it's highlighted by the fact that Shubman Gill hasn't had a bad tournament, but compared to some of the other players, he's had a more modest tournament, yet he's just as likely to come out there and light up the final. You've got Kohli, all class, Surya Kumar Yadav, who's one of the most exciting players in the world. So, I honestly think that if they played this game 10 times on fair pitches, India would win it 7 or 8 times. They are considerably better than New Zealand. I think the big danger only for India is that if New Zealand get to win the toss and batting second at Wankhede is difficult. When those early overs, the ball moves around a lot. The only side to have won batting second in the tournament so far was Australia against Afghanistan, and that relied on the heroics of Glenn Maxwell. So that's the banana skin for India. If they come under pressure against New Zealand's high-quality seam attack as the night begins, that's when things could suddenly take a turn for the worse.
Well, absolutely. Would you agree to that banana skin? Nice phrase our friend Paul has been using for 2 days.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with Paul on that one. You know, I did a bit of a dig into India this morning, and what's been going on just between them and New Zealand for the longest period of time. And one thing I can guarantee you, somewhere along the line, a streak will be broken in tomorrow's game. India have lost their last 4 knockout matches against New Zealand across all formats, as well as New Zealand have been knocked out by one of the hosts in their past 3 World Cups. So something's got to give tomorrow, and I don't want to be the drop in the ocean right now.
Just talk about that New Zealand getting knocked out by the hosts. That's interesting trivia.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you just look across past formats in the ODI World Cup. They don't seem to have the best luck against the hosts. And for me right now, India in great form, playing at home. They have the home crowd on their side. They have everything going in their favor right now. And as history would have it, it's not looking so great for New Zealand's record against the hosts. But we've seen this World Cup time and time again that things just have a weird way of shifting and becoming unusual in this World Cup. I honestly believe this is one of the greatest matchups in the semi-final. I'm not even too concerned about the Australia-South Africa game, but this is big for me because it has so much going on in it. You know, the pitch they're playing on, not alone, has been one of the most movable pitches, to say the least, in the fact that most of the lot of pitches, you know, they give for the seam bowlers probably in the first 10 overs. But this pitch has shown signs, according to Hawkeye, that it has good seam movement, good swing movement. The swing lasts as long as 15 overs. And it's crazy for me to see because both teams have formidable pace bowling attacks. So I think whoever wins the toss in this case, that's what's going to be key for them.
Well, absolutely. Whoever wins the toss. You made a pertinent point. Let me ask David Brooks. David, if you can hear us. David, Tasmin made an important point, and I was there present to watch New Zealand, kill India on that fateful Manchester afternoon in the semi-final. Would you agree to her both the statistics, and what do you make of that? What do you make of that statistics?
Well, yeah, history is history. It's what we've seen in the other circumstances. Let's face it, Manchester 2019, very different circumstances, conditions and everything. India away from home. I mean, to me, Tamsin's hit the nail on the head when she talked about the home record of the hosts. And yes, that's interesting that New Zealand have lost to 3 host nations, and this is going to be 4. I mean, we're talking about, yes, the possibility of there being a bear trap, a banana skin, even a honey trap. But actually, you know, if we're looking and predicting what's going to happen, I see a big victory for England. I see the wheels coming off the New Zealand wagon. They've already threatened to come off a few times with niggling injuries, Matt Henry going home. Was it one of the other bowlers? I think it was Southey who missed it. Paul will probably be able to correct me on that, but I think Southey missed a couple of matches as well. Yeah. Yes, Trent Boult is there, but he's not Trent Boult of old because he's only playing 20 over cricket. And we know when those guys go into semi-retirement, they lose their edge and their resilience. Let's see what his second spell is like. And I don't see anything on paper that's going to disturb India's smooth progress into the final.
Well, into the final. Paul, very interesting stats we have on the screen which says that India has got their oppositions out on 7 occasions. And that's a sign of great bowling and comfort in that. Do you think you would be a comfortable manager and the coach if you were to see those stats on your screen, what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. That some of the destruction that they have rendered on some of the opposition batting lineups has been, you know, almost at historic levels that you almost look at the scoreboard and think, is that a mistake? But as I said, the only real concern I would have if I was Rahul Dravid is that possibility that if New Zealand get to bat first and that India then have to bat second and the ball starts to move around, you've got a difficult period that you've got to get through. I remember that prior to Maxwell's heroics, Shane Watson in commentary was making the point that he was very disappointed that several of the Australians had played aggressive shots where he said, you've got to bat like a test match in those early overs once the night comes in there. And I think that that's going to be significant. I've got to take Tasmin up on one thing. She said that she's not worried about the Thursday game. I'm really worried about it. We're hearing these reports that a cyclone is forming in the Bay of Bengal and that there's going to be potentially both days washed out, in which case South Africa would go through in second place. Now, that would be a huge turnaround for all the bad luck South Africa.
Paul,
can you guys enlighten me? What's the weather going on over there?
I would, but it's called et to Brutus. Remember what happened to South Africa in 1992. I think the nature is playing its own turn. But we'll get back to you on certainly the weather forecast there and the tornado which is shaping up. But more importantly, yes, all our eyes, heartbeats and thoughts are with Wankhede Stadium and talking about how the match is going to progress. Well, we've got another stats up there. When you look at the undefeated team structure here, we've got some 3-0-2 victory. We've got victory over 100 runs against England, South Africa, 243 runs. The most important one was the starting one. Australia, 6 wickets, but that was a close match. Paul, just tell us about the closeness of the match, which our stats don't, talk about often. Low scoring game. Go on.
There was a period of 5 minutes when I was up off my couch and cheering because I thought Australia was going to win that game, and then Mitchell Marsh dropped Virat Kohli he's got a lot to make up for that, Mitchell Marsh, because if he'd taken that catch, India would then have been not many for 4 wickets, and it could have been very different. From that moment on, India cruised to the victory, and on paper it looked like an easy win, and in the end it was. And probably one of India hasn't really had any times when they've been really challenged, but maybe their game against New Zealand, although they won it comfortably in the end, looking back over the scores, it's probably one of the few times that they were, if not challenged, but New Zealand were in the same sort of ballpark as them.
Well, this is an absolute amazing stats what you're seeing on the screen right now. Please keep watching our YouTube channel for watch along, for discussion, which is going to happen all day long today, tomorrow, and hopefully till the end of the World Cup. Well, that's all we had time for. I thank all my guests to have joined in early in the morning or midday from Australia, England, and in studio.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.